All right, welcome back to the channel and the 1962 Triumph TR4 restoration series. And we've got some more homework in front of us on the coffee table inside. It's too darn hot to work outside today. It's pretty close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, about 36 degrees Celsius. So figured we'd do an indoor project again. And as you can see, I've got the door panels off the TR4 on the coffee table, and they are definitely looking a little worse for wear. At least one of them is. The driver's side panel is in much worse condition than the passenger side. The driver's side is here on top, and from first glance, I guess it doesn't look too bad from the top side. But as you can see, the passenger side panel is in much better condition. I have not cleaned them yet. That's probably going to be the first thing I do, is actually clean them up. It does have a little bit of overspray, red overspray on it over there in that corner. But we're going to get some cleaners out and clean these the best as we can before we go to the next step. Now, the thing that's a concern on the driver's side is the back panel is extremely warped. And the panel was not sitting on the car very well. So I don't know if it's coming through in the camera or not, but it's got a huge bubble here in the corner of the panel. You can probably see that. And the rest of the panel is pretty damaged and waterlogged. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to rescue this panel. I've not done this previously. I've usually just ordered new panels, but we're trying to save a little bit of money on this project. And again, this is a restoration, so we're doing a sort of patina motif on this car. So I'd prefer not to get new panels if possible. If I get new panels, that means that'll make the rear panel of the car look pretty shabby. It'll make the dash look even shabbier than it is. So my preference is to keep what we have, clean them up as best as possible. Again, a little bit of overspray here. And I'm gonna see if I can actually repanel these. So I've actually purchased a piece of oak as a new back panel for the driver's side. I think we're gonna leave the passenger side panel alone, other than just cleaning it up. But we really wanna make the driver's side panel look much better. So that's the project for this evening on the coffee table. It's going to entail removing a ton of staples off the back of this panel to try and rescue the material. So it is stapled pretty generously all around the outside of this panel. Even here where the pocket is, it's pretty much stapled. So we're going to go to town and remove the staples and see if we can remove the material safely and effectively from the backer board before we decide whether we can actually try and rescue this by gluing it, stapling it onto another panel. Anyway, that is the project as mentioned, so let's get crack-a-lackin'. All right, we're just about to start taking the staples out of the rear of the driver's side panel. I did clean up the passenger side panel best as I could, and it came up pretty well with the exception of the overspray, which I'll have to get a little bit more aggressive with. But other than that, the panel looks pretty good, cleaned up pretty nicely. I did remove all the clips from the back as well, so that is looking okay. We may do a little bit of repair here. There's a little bit of a break in the panel, but that might be salvageable. Even with something just like a little duct tape reinforcement or something a little stronger probably would help there. So anyway, we are going to remove all the staples in this panel in order to remove the material from the backing board. So we're going to do that now. I think I need to keep you on camera. Maybe I'll do a time lapse, so I'll keep you on here, and I'll throw the ball game on and just go to town, enjoy the game, and pull some staples. right, 25 minutes later and about, I don't know, a couple hundred staples. The beading is removed, or the welting, if you want to call it that. You just grab it over here. So here is the welting. So that is a whole separate row of staples. It looks like mostly the door card or the door panel itself is glued on the edges, and then it's just reinforced with the staples of the welting all around. So we're going to go through the process now of trying to remove the glued on edges from around the door panel itself and try to remove it carefully from the panel. It does feel like there's some felting or batting, I guess you call it, on the back of this panel as well. So I'm not sure how that's going to come off. It's probably going to come off in clumps if it's glued in certain areas. So let's try to remove that now. All right, as you can see, we've got the backer board detached from the panel, the front panel, and it's a little worse for wear, as we showed you, so it's pretty warped. I'm just thinking about how I'm going to be able to utilize this as a template with any accuracy. I guess between this one and between the passenger side, I should be able to come up with something that's going to work. So anyway, we'll put that aside. Again, we'll use that as a template, and we'll take a look at the cover. Got a few more staples to remove just on some areas, but I managed to rescue most of the felting on the back. It's got a little bit of the backer board still glued to it, but nothing too bad. And you can see how the sort of the door pocket works here. That material pulls through a little slot in the backer board. I don't know if you noticed the slot here. This is for the door pocket itself. So we'll have to cut that in along with the holes for the window crank and the door handle, as well as the locations to mount it to the actual door itself with the clips. So anyway, we'll try to clean this panel up a little bit, and like I said, remove a few more staples, and then maybe we'll come back for one last look before we go to the next step, which is going to be making or using the existing boards to make a new backer board out of a piece of thin oak that I bought. All right, final video of the night on this project before we move it outside and start working on the backboard. So the panel cleaned up pretty well. It's given me a bit more confidence that this is going to actually look better than what we started with, at least, and that's really the goal of this project. So again, we'll use the old backer board to make the template, and probably get out there tomorrow night after work and cut that, and then we'll start to put this panel back together, and using a lot of staples and some spray adhesive I've got standing by. So stay tuned. See you tomorrow. All right, it's the next day, and we've gone ahead and we've brought our piece of oak plywood in. This is a thin piece of oak. It's a 1/4 inch thick. Again, it might not be the best choice of panel, but I didn't have too much choice at my local store. I could have bought a birch panel, but I figured the birch would probably chip a lot easier in the locations where the pins are located to hold the panel to the door. So I decided to go with oak because I thought it would be better from that perspective. I'm not sure how this will hold up as far as weather is concerned, but again, I don't expect this car to see a lot of bad weather anyway, so I'm not really too concerned about this warping. But one thing I do know is if it works out okay, it's going to be 100% better than what the panel was on the car currently. So we are just about to go outside and grab our little jigsaw and cut this pattern out. You'll see two lines here. I actually laid out the good panel and traced around the outside, and then laid out the stripped panel, and those are the lines you see on the inside. I just wanted to make sure from a shape perspective if it looked fairly reasonable. Again, I was having to sort of press down on the badly buckled sheet to be able to make the template as close as possible. So I'm hoping this is going to work out okay. If not, I guess I can always buy another sheet of plywood if I have to. This slot here is for where the door pocket goes through, so we'll have to widen that a little bit. Probably just drill a hole on either end and then put the jigsaw in between to cut that slot. So these are the holes for the window cranks and for the door handles. So we'll have to figure out how to cut those out as well. Pretty sure maybe I have a step drill that I can use to cut those out. With the rest of them I'm okay with from a drill sizing perspective. So anyway, we're going to go outside. We're going to grab the jigsaw and go to town. I'm not going to take you outside with me. Hopefully this is going to be a relatively quick job to get this panel cut out. Once I get it cut out, I'll bring it back inside so you can have a look at how we did. All right, we've got that panel cut out successfully, and I think it looks pretty good. Hopefully all the holes are in the right locations. You see the slot there for the door pocket. So it didn't take too long, probably about 20 minutes for me to cut that out and drill it. So that went fairly easily. Now we're going to see how the front panel fits on this panel and see what we're going to need to do to get that attached properly. All right, you're just about to start trying to fit the front panel to the backer board. And we've got some materials here standing by. We've got some clamps to help clamp the material. I've got some of these book binders, I guess they're called as well, standing by to clamp the edges once we glue it. I've got a staple gun standing by, just a hand staple gun with some 1/4-inch staples. And then we've got our 3M Super 77 adhesive standing by. So we're going to incorporate all of these items, trying to put this panel back on. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. I've sort of done a dry fit. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the top down and stretch it as we go. So we'll probably end up gluing this top part along here. If you look at the original panel, you can actually see where it was glued. So I'm going to try to do the same sort of glue patterns as this panel. So we'll start, like I said, top down. We'll stretch it down to the bottom. The most difficult part will be getting this pocket back in place. I do have the other panel for reference, so we'll be using that to check it every now and again. So panel's looking pretty good so far. We've got the pocket stapled in the back. Unfortunately, my shorter staples were not working, so I had to go slightly longer. But there's the pocket at the back stapled in. So I was trying to use 1/4" staples. I think I showed you the pack before. Ended up having to go to 3/8 staples. My stapler won't staple 1/4" staples, unfortunately. So anyway, those staples are a little long, but I think they're going to be okay for the welting around the outside since it's going to have an extra little bit of thickness to it. So we're going to go ahead now and add the welting all the way around, and we'll staple everywhere around the outside where we've already glued previously. But obviously now with some extra stapling, that's going to hold that even tighter in place. Anyway, let me do the welting, and I'll come back and show you the final product. Guys, I think we'll put an end to this video. I'm quite happy with the way that came out compared to what we started with. It is the original panel, so I mean it looks pretty good. The pocket's a little bit baggy, but that's to be expected. Other than that, it came out pretty well. There's a few wrinkles here and there, but all in all, I think it looks 100% better than what we started with. So we'll be able to get that back on the car. So anyway, we'll give you a shot when it finally is back on the car. I can give you a comparison between the two panels if you like. So there's the driver's side. Here's the passenger side. So again, it's a little bit baggy because of the the back panel not being in very good shape. Obviously the panel being so badly warped, I think it allowed the material to shrink a little bit as well. I couldn't really stretch it any more than that effectively, so unfortunately it's a little bit baggy, but like I said, it's 100% better than what we started with. So I'm happy with that. That can go back on the car. I'm not embarrassed to put that back on the car, so we'll call that job done. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. See you on the next video.